All right, folks, the team is already on the ice, getting ready for warm-ups. So they did not Zamboni after the previous game. So they're Zamboni in every 2 periods, I guess. So the team got on the ice a little earlier than I expected. So this is round 1 of the playoffs, Stillwater versus St. Mary's Point here at Lily Lake Ice Arena in Stillwater. Videotaping from a corner because there's no good viewpoints from the stands. Still getting set up, but the kids are warming up. 3 minutes left in warm-ups. "35 seconds left in warm-ups. So we've got Stillwater versus St. Mary's Point. Stillwater in the white jerseys, St. Mary's Point in green. All right, here we go. Starting in goal, it will be Logan today. Looks like at D we'll have Dylan Johnson and Austin Voxlin. And forwards, we've got Braden Smith and Ty Sirianni and Parker Taylor. So I'll do my best to announce the play-by-play. It's hard to see on the far side. All right, St. Mary's Point is able to skate it out of the zone. Parker Taylor chips it up the boards and out of the zone. St. Mary's Point sends it back in for an offsides. All right, Braden Smith wins the faceoff back to Ty Sirianni. Sirianni dumps it in. Parker Taylor on the forecheck in the far corner for Braden Smith. Puck comes around to the right side boards. Bonin on the forecheck. Braden Smith helping out. Back to the point. Voxlin. Shot. Deflected behind the net. Bonin had the puck stolen. Braden Smith's able to hold it in temporarily. Dylan Johnson with a shot from the point. Gets blocked and deflected to the right side boards. Skate Mary skated up. Collision at the blue line. Voxlin is able to clear. Voxlin with the puck. Passes it over to Dox. Dox skates it through the neutral zone. Into the offensive zone. He goes around the defense. Centering pass. Shot was deflected behind the net. All right, Keegan Smith at the point. He sends it back into the left side corner. Dox on the forecheck. Shot by O'Shea. Deflected into the corner. Dox on the forecheck, battling for the puck. Kept helping out. Kept sends it back to the point for O'Shea. O'Shea shot. Deflected in front and covered by St. Mary's Point. So we also have 15-minute periods here today, folks. All right, St. Mary's Point sends it the length of the ice off the face-off. It's on goal. Logan saves that. No icing. O'Shea retrieves the puck. He sends it the length of the ice, and this will be an icing on Stillwater. Pass was intended for Logan Junker, but too far ahead of him. So we've got an icing call on Stillwater. All right, Sonicov face-off, pass up to Linnell. St. Mary's Point's able to hold. Cash Junker retrieves the puck, tries to skate it along the boards and gets tripped up. Louis Junker clears the zone. St. Mary's Point clears the puck. Cash Junker retrieves it. He makes a move and skates it through the neutral zone. Slap shot, deflected, glove save, rebound loose. St. Mary's Point's able to clear. Koffenberg challenging. Koffenberg sends the puck around to the near corner. Linnell with the puck. He's trying to clear. St. Mary's Point holds it in. They send it back around. And Louis Junker will retrieve it along the far boards. And he loses control of the puck. Sonic chips it up the boards for Louis Junker. Louis Junker is able to clear the zone. And puck gets knocked off his stick right back into the zone. Puck over to Cash Junker. Cash Junker cross ice intended for Louis Junker. Off his stick though. St. Mary's Point is able to skate it through the neutral zone. Weston Linnell now with the puck. He steals it and dumps it in. And Stillwater goes for a line change. Voxlin pinches. Shot on net from the side of the net. St. Mary's Point dumps it in. Foxland battling for the puck on the near board. Sirianni helping out. St. Mary's Point sends it behind the net. Dylan Johnson passes it up the boards. And we've got a whistle because Ty Sirianni and a St. Mary's Point player have their helmets stuck together. So that was the first time for me to see that whistle. But you never know what's going to happen. So we got a face-off in the defensive zone. Dylan Johnson with the puck behind the net. He sends it around the boards to Ty Sirianni. Ty Sirianni is able to clear the zone. Pass over to Parker Taylor. He sends it deep behind the St. Mary's net. St. Mary's retrieves it. Parker Taylor on the forecheck. Dylan Johnson holds it in. Shot from the point. Deflected into the far corner. Parker sends it back behind the net for Ty Sirianni. Sirianni centering pass to Kep. Kep shot. Glove save. And held on to by St. Mary's Point. We'll have a face-off here in the offensive zone. 10:07 left to go in the first period. Score is 0-0. All right, off the face-off, St. Mary's Point controls. They're able to skate it out of the zone. And they send it the length of the ice for an icing. Kep takes the face off, wins it back to O'Shea. Shot from the point to Kep. Kep sends it back to O'Shea, and he'll dump it into the corner. Docks on the forecheck. Actually, that's Bonin and Kep and Docks. They're all in the far corner. Digging for the puck. Docks with it. Battling along the right side boards. And St. Mary's Point sends it to the far side. O'Shea pinched, not able to hold it in. Docks on the back check. O'Shea battling for the puck. Keegan Smith sends it up the neutral zone. All right, Bonin's able to hold it in on the blue line temporarily. We've got Koffenberg. He gets tied up along the far boards. Junker helping out. Now we've got Cash Junker. He passes it over to Bonin. Bonin passes to Sonic. And Sonic gets taken down. Back to Bonin. Goal! I believe, well, actually, I think that was maybe Sonic over to Louis Junker to score the first goal of the game. So Stillwater takes the lead, 1-0, 8:34 left to go in the first period. Sonic wins the faceoff and skates it into the offensive zone. He takes a shot, deflected, glove save, and held on to. I think the shot was deflected by the defenseman. St. Mary Point's defenseman on that shot. Face-off goes into the far corner. St. Mary's Point tries to send it up the boards, but it's held in by Stillwater. Cash Junker over to Koffenberg. St. Mary's Point's able to clear. And broken up by Linnell. Koffenberg tried to dump it in, but intercepted by the St. Mary's Point defenseman. Braden Smith now with the puck. He'll skate it into the offensive zone. Tried to make a move, lost the puck. Louis Junker tried to take a shot. He was taken down. And St. Mary's Point is able to clear. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck. He skates it out of the zone into the neutral zone, has it knocked off his stick, and Braden Smith picks it up and is trying to work his way into the offensive zone. He's got the puck stolen by St. Mary's Point, and it comes back to Cash Junker. He makes a pass over to Voxland, and Voxland sends it deep into the St. Mary's Point zone. We've got Parker Taylor on the forecheck. St. Mary's Point is able to clear the zone. Dylan Johnson with the puck. He sends it over to Voxland, and Voxland to Braden Smith. Braden Smith makes a move around one defenseman, takes a shot. Stick save, deflected to the far boards. St. Mary's Point's able to skate it out of the zone. Got some speed here. Shot, save, Logan, St. Mary's Point. And Braden Smith battled for the puck. Got a St. Mary's Point player down on the ice. Logan made a great save on that breakaway chance. Round the boards to Sirianni. Sirianni is able to clear the zone, but St. Mary's Point sends it right back in. Voxland back to retrieve the puck. He goes around the net, passes it up the sideboards to Parker Taylor. Parker will skate it into the offensive zone. He goes wide, centering pass intended, I think, for Sirianni. Sirianni sent it back in front. Dylan Johnson with a shot from the point, wide of the net. Puck's loose on the side of the net. St. Mary's Point now controls. We have a penalty on Stillwater. I believe this is going to be a tripping penalty on Stillwater. When the St. Mary's Point player was trying to come around the net there, he was taken down. And it looks like we've got a tripping penalty on Ty Sirianni. So Stillwater will be on the penalty kill for a minute 30. 6:02 left to go in the first period. Stillwater leads 1-0. O'Shea behind the net, and that goes up and over the boards and out of play. Kep wins the face-off over to Keegan Smith. He tries to chip it up the boards. Kep now with the puck. Has it knocked off his stick. Back into the corner here. O'Shea chips it around behind the net. Docks and Kep battling forward along the far boards. O'Shea helping out as well. Puck comes loose. Shot. Stick save by Logan. Deflected into the corner. Puck goes back to the St. Mary's Point. Slap shot from the point, save, and a rebound goal. Unfortunately, St. Mary's Point ties it up 1-1. So, power play goal by St. Mary's Point. Score is tied 1-1. 5:23 left to go in the first period. All right, we've got Cash Junker with the puck, trying to skate it in, had it knocked off his stick. He will dump it deep into the St. Mary's Point zone. St. Mary's Point sends it back up the boards. Louis Junker on the forecheck. Linnell with the shot, glove save. Shot by Linnell, save right off the face-off. Sonic in the corner, centering pass intended for Linnell was intercepted by St. Mary's Point. They're able to skate it out of the zone. Pass intercepted by Louis Junker. He's trying to dump it deep, gets it into the zone. Sonic on the forecheck. Sorry, that's Linnell on the forecheck. Louis Junker helping out. Sonic goes behind the net now. Koffenberg pinches, slap shot from the point. Puck's loose and covered by St. Mary's Point goalie. 4:30 left to go in the first period. Scores tied, 1-1. Off the face-off, back to Voxland. His shot wide from the point. Parker Taylor sends it back to Dylan Johnson at the point. Shot intercepted by St. Mary's Point defenseman. And sent back around to the far boards for Parker Taylor. Back to Dylan Johnson at the point. He sends it back in deep behind the net. Ty Sirianni on the forecheck. St. Mary's Point is able to clear the zone. Voxland had it, tipped off his stick. St. Mary's Point shot, glove saved by Logan, and he'll hang on to that one for a whistle. 3:45 left to go in the first period. Puck comes behind the net. Dox retrieves it. Off the faceoff, he skates it up and out of the zone. Into the offensive zone. Trying to keep going towards the net. Backhand shot. Right in front of the creases. Stopped and covered by the St. Mary's Point goalie. It was a backhand shot by Dox there. All right, off the faceoff, goes into the far corner, sent around to the right corner by St. Mary's Point. Bonin and Dox on the forecheck. St. Mary's Point trying to skate it up. Poke check by Kep. Kep shot from the left side boards, and we got a glove save and another whistle. Off the face-off, we got a shot right away by Parker Taylor and another whistle. Face-off goes back into the corner. We've got Dox battling for it. Comes back around to the left side boards. Shot by O'Shea. Deflected in front. And St. Mary's Point trying to skate it out. Poke check by O'Shea is able to hold it in temporarily. Puck does come out. Stillwater has to tag up. Louis Junker intercepts a pass and skates it in along the right side boards. Goes around one defenseman. He gets taken down behind the net, and we'll have a power play for Stillwater. Tripping penalty on St. Mary's Point. So when Louis was trying to skate behind the net, he got tripped, and that drew the penalty for St. Mary's Point. So Sonic takes the face-off. He wins it back. Louis Junker with a shot. That's intercepted by St. Mary's Point, and they skate it out of the zone. St. Mary's Point dumps it in deep. Sonic back to retrieve the puck. He passes it, intended for Louis Junker. That got intercepted. Sonic in the corner. He'll chip it out of the zone for St. Mary's Point. Let's see here. St. Mary's Point is able to skate it back through the neutral zone, and they dump it in. Cash Junker to retrieve the puck now. He skates it up. Cash Junker into the offensive zone, has it taken off his stick. Linnell with the puck. Back to Koffenberg at the point. Shot from the point, deflected off a St. Mary's Point player. Linnell with the puck. Back to the point, slap shot by Cash Junker. That's deflected into the corner. Cash Junker holds it at the blue line. Another shot from the point, wide of the net. Koffenberg pinching on the right side. 18 seconds left in the power play. Koffenberg behind the net. He spins, tries to center the pass, intercepted by St. Mary's Point, sent to the right side point. Braden Smith's able to hold it in. He sends it back in deep for Linnell in the corner. 2 seconds left on the power play. Centering pass back to Cash Junker, slap shot again. And held on to by St. Mary's Point goalie. Power play has expired. 57 seconds left to go in the first period. Score is tied 1-1. Off the face-off, St. Mary's Point sends it up the boards. We've got Dylan Johnson who held it in. Backhand shot from the point. And that was sent into the corner. Dylan Johnson's able to hold it in. Another shot from the point goes wide of the net. We've got Ty Sirianni. His centering pass intercepted by St. Mary's Point. And they will skate it out of the zone. All right, Dylan Johnson challenging. Braden Smith has the puck. He sends it up the boards. And St. Mary's Point sends it back in for an offsides call. 22 seconds left to go in the period. And the refs are taking the face-off all the way down for an intentional offsides there. Stillwater wins the face-off, but too much for Dylan Johnson to hold it in at the blue line there. So it came all the way back to Stillwater zone. Dylan Johnson passes over to Sirianni. Sirianni up to Braden Smith. He skates it into the zone around the right side. Shot saved by St. Mary's Point. 2.7 seconds left to go in the period. And we'll have a face-off in the offensive zone. Stillwater wins the face-off, back to Boxland, shot from the point, and that's the buzzer. We got a tied game after one period. Scores 1-1. And we're going to have a 10-minute intermission now. They're going to Zamboni the ice. Here come your Stillwater ponies off the ice. Give you a little view of the players going in the locker room.
I was going to guess
All right, like I said, 10-minute intermission for them to Zamboni the ice.
Might be new. Whoever. Nice job out there, Bones. Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up.
All right, the Zamboni's just about finishing up. It's on his final lap. We'll get this game underway shortly. All right, so Zamboni's off the ice. Just wait for the doors to be closed.
A bunch of like fans. There's one over there.
All right, the refs are getting the nets set. Players are on the benches ready to go. I guess they got the all clear, so here they come. Probably just get a minute to skate around, and then second period will start. Looks like the Stillwater players and the St. Mary's Point players are having a little conversation at center ice here while they stretch out. All right. All right, we've got Logan back in goal Starting for Stillwater, O'Shea and Keegan Smith at D, Brendan Docks, Kep, and Bonin at forwards. So we are looks like we're gonna switch ends.
Oh no. Thank you.
All right, underway. St. Mary's Point dumps it deep into the Stillwater zone. Pass over to Bonin. He gets it. We've got player down. Bonin was down temporarily. He's back on his feet, making his way to the bench. I think he had a face-on-face collision there, trying to come out of the Stillwater zone. So we got a line change for Stillwater. Face-off back at center ice. O'Shea sending it into the zone. Louis Smith dumps it deep. St. Mary's Point around the net. Louis Junker trying to back check. St. Mary's Point skates it into the zone. Slap shot wide of the net. That comes back to the point. St. Mary's Point still controls. They dump it deep into the far corner. And pass intercepted by Linnell. He's able to skate it out of the Stillwater zone into the St. Mary's Point zone. He tried a centering pass to Louis Junker that was intercepted. Sonic with the puck now. Shot. Save. Rebound loose. Rebound in. Linnell. Oh, sorry, folks. The camera did not follow the play. Sonic with a shot from the top of the circle. And Linnell was able to get the rebound and score the goal. So a couple rebound shots by Linnell was able to get that one in the back of the net. So Stillwater takes the lead 2-1. 13:50 left to go in the second period. So St. Mary's Point controls off the face-off. They dump it deep into the Stillwater zone. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck. He skates it out of the zone, but has it knocked off his stick. It comes all the way down to the goalie. And we've got Cash Junker still on the forecheck. He's trying to make his way towards the net. Ty Sirianni with a shot that gets deflected behind the net. Parker Taylor sends it deep behind the net again for Ty Sirianni. The puck's chipped up in the air. Braden Smith rebounds loose on the side of the net. St. Mary's Point controls in the corner. They send it back behind the net. Parker Taylor on the forecheck here. He sends it back to Cash Junker with a shot from the point. That was tipped wide. Braden Smith and Sirianni on the forecheck in the far corner. Koffenberg pinches. He's able to hold it in. Sends it deep behind the net. Parker Taylor on the forecheck. St. Mary's Point sends it up the boards. Cash Junker is able to hold it in. Parker Taylor trying to send it towards the net. We've got Braden Smith sends it back to Cash Junker. Slap shot from the point. Rebound loose in front. St. Mary's Point's able to clear that puck. Cash Junker sends it towards the net. Parker Taylor centering pass. Ty Sirianni with a shot that goes wide. St. Mary's Point trying to clear. Cash Junker is able to hold it in. Parker Taylor sends it towards the far corner, and Stillwater needs a line change. Braden Smith forechecking. Koffenberg able to hold it in. He sends it back behind the net. We've got Docks and Braden Smith on the forecheck. St. Mary's Point finally able to clear, but this will be an icing on them. Stillwater with some good pressure there. All right, Kep off the face-off, goes to Bonin, and a goal. So face-off from Kep to Bonin, and Bonin just kind of had a deflection, and it went 5-hole into the back of the net. Stillwater makes it 3-1. And the Stillwater players didn't even realize that they scored a goal. All right, so Stillwater adds a little cushion to their lead, 3-1 here with 11:51 left to go in the second period. So Doc's on the forecheck here in the near corner, kept helping out. St. Mary's Point sends it up to boards. Dylan Johnson trying to hold. Bonin trying to help out, but St. Mary's Point brings it back into the offensive zone. Centering pass, shot wide of the net. Foxlin over there trying to challenge the St. Mary's Point player. Puck is behind the net. And we've got Kep. He sends it up the boards to the St. Mary's Point defenseman player. Slap shot from the point. That goes wide to the left side board. Bonin now with the puck. He passes it up to Kep. Kep's trying to pass it over to Docs, but we've got an offsides on Stillwater. Just like you folks, it's hard for me to see the length of the ice as well, so trying to call the play-by-play as best as I can see it. We've got O'Shea battling along the right side boards. Louis Junker with the puck now. He'll skate it into the zone. He makes his way around a defenseman. Centering pass was blocked. He's still behind the net, trying to chip it behind the net for Linnell. Linnell and Junker battling for the puck. Sonic helping out now. Sonic with the puck behind the net. He's trying to make a centering pass. He gets tripped up. We'll have a penalty on St. Mary's Point. Tripping. Stillwater will be on the power play for a minute 30. 10:27 left to go in the second period. Sonic wins the face-off. Back to O'Shea. Shot. Blocker save was deflected into the corner. Linnell on the forecheck. Louis Junker helping out. Centering pass. Gets intercepted by St. Mary's Point, and they will skate it out of the zone. So Sonic sends it around the boards for Louis Junker. Louis Junker racing for the puck. He's able to get it. Shot off the side of the net. Louis Junker centering pass for Linnell. Backhand shot. Save. Sonic shot. Goal! Sonic with a goal. Shot from the bottom of the circle. Makes it 4-1. 9:44 left to go in the second period. So Stillwater with a power play goal. Braden Smith off the faceoff wins it back to Cash Junker. Cash Junker looking for a pass over to Parker Taylor. Sorry, back to Braden Smith. Braden Smith shot, stick save. Parker Taylor on the forecheck, back to the point. Cash Junker with a shot that gets deflected into the corner. Braden Smith battling for the puck behind the net. Sirianni as well. Puck comes back to Cash Junker. He'll pinch and skate it in. He turns, shot, glove save. Sorry, folks, the camera is having a little difficulty keeping up with the puck here with all the action in the offensive zone. Stillwater wins the faceoff, back to Cash Junker. Shot deflected off St. Mary's Point stick. And we've got a save and covered by St. Mary's Point. Kep wins the faceoff. Braden Smith wins the face-off back to Taylor, and Taylor back to Cash Junker. Puck comes around the boards to Cash Junker. He's not able to hold that one in. And St. Mary's Point skates it into the offensive zone. Shot tipped by Braden Smith. Koffenberg sends it up the boards. He's battling for it in the corner. Cash Junker has it behind the net. He turns and skates it up out of the zone. He skates it into the offensive zone. Shot, tipped, save, and held on to. Face-off won by Kep. He controls it. He circles down below. Shot from behind the goal line. It's on top of the net. It's on the backside of the net anyway, so we'll have a whistle and another face-off. I guess we'll have a face-off is outside the zone here. Kep wins the face-off. St. Mary's Point is able to dump it deep into the Stillwater zone. Docks with it in the far corner, or in the near corner. St. Mary's Point not able to hold it in. Docks is able to clear the zone, and he skates it through the neutral zone into the offensive zone. His centering pass deflected by St. Mary's Point back to Dylan Johnson. He took a shot from the point, deflected into the far corner. Bonin sends the puck behind the net for Docks. Kept helping out Docks here on the forecheck. He's got centering pass to Bonin. Bonin shot, goal. Beautiful centering pass from Docks to Bonin, who is all alone on the right side of the crease. And he's able to put that one in the back of the net to make it 5-1 Stillwater. 7:38 left to go in the second period. All right, we got Kep forechecking. Back to O'Shea at the point. Shot wide of the net. Bonin with the puck now on the side of the net. He's trying to turn. He's battling, has the puck taken away along the far boards. Sent to the near corner. And St. Mary's Point is able to clear back to Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith trying to make the turn. And he clears the zone. Pass up to Weston Linnell into the zone. He has a shot on goal that is covered by St. Mary's Point. Sonic wins the face-off back to Cash Junker. Shot, goal! Cash Junker with a goal right off the face-off. So Sonic to Junker, his shot, top shelf. So Stillwater takes the lead, 6-1. Sonic wins the face-off back to Cash Junker again. Cash Junker over to Koffenberg. Koffenberg skates it into the zone. Koffenberg shot on net. Covered. Face-off comes back. Cash Junker shot. Save. Louis Junker with the shot. That gets intercepted by St. Mary's player. St. Mary's sends it back to the far boards. Sonic on the forecheck. Linnell helping out now. Linnell with the puck. Centering pass intended for Louis Junker, broken up by St. Mary's point. Puck still loose on the side of the net. St. Mary's is able to clear the zone, and Koffenberg went down awkwardly into the boards there, but he's a little slow to get up. He is on his feet now. St. Mary's point sends it into the near corner. Deep Cash trying to clear the zone. Weston Linnell with the puck. And his pass intended for Sonic was intercepted. And we have an offsides on St. Mary's point. We've got Braden Smith off the faceoff. Stillwater's able to send it deep. St. Mary's point is trying to clear the zone. Sirianni with the poke check to keep it in the zone. Braden Smith on the forecheck. Sirianni with the puck, centering pass deflected into the near corner. Parker Taylor to retrieve it. He sends it back to Dylan Johnson. Dylan Johnson, his shot deflected up and over the net. Sirianni has the puck behind the net. Tried to center it, but tipped off his stick. And St. Mary's point is able to clear the zone. Shot on goal, save. And we've had a goalie change for Stillwater. So a first save by Rye. All right, plays along the near board. Parker Taylor trying to chip it up. St. Mary's point able to hold it in the zone. Dylan Johnson sends it up the boards. Parker Taylor finally able to clear the zone. Braden Smith with the puck now. He skates it into the zone. And puck gets knocked off his stick. St. Mary's point sends it around the zone, around the boards. Parker Taylor on the forecheck. Dylan Johnson pinching. Parker Taylor sends it back behind the net for Sirianni. Sirianni centering pass. Intercepted by St. Mary's point. Boxland's able to hold that one in. Keegan Smith holds it in. It is Boxland on the playing right D right now. So Boxland battling for the puck. He chips it up the boards for Sirianni. St. Mary's point sends it right back in the zone, and this is an icing call. Kept with the face-off, taking the face-off. Bonin with a shot right off the face-off, hit the side of the net. Bonin centering pass. Puck was loose. Knocked out of there by a St. Mary's player. Docks on the forecheck. O'Shea trying to hold it in the zone. And St. Mary's is able to clear. And they take it into the offensive zone. Shot saved by Rye. Deflected into the right side corner. St. Mary's point sends it behind the net. Back to St. Mary's D. Docks challenges the point. Shot wide of the net. We've got O'Shea now. O'Shea with the puck. He takes it in. Shot. Save. Right on the stick of Docks. Sorry, folks, watching at home. The camera is too slow for the action here in the offensive zone, but O'Shea brought it in along the left side boards. He took a shot. It was a stick save by the St. Mary's goalie. The rebound came right out onto the stick of Brendan Docks, and he was able to make a shot that went 5-hole and trickled into the back of the net to make it 7-1 Stillwater. 2:53 left to go in the second period. So off the face-off, we've got Louis Junker. His shot goes wide. Linnell on the forecheck. Sonic behind the net, battling for the puck. St. Mary's is able to clear off the glass. And this could be an icing if it'll make it, but the icing is waved off. Koffenberg back to retrieve the puck behind the Stillwater net. Over to Cash. Junker with the puck now. He skated it out of the zone, through the neutral zone. He takes a shot from the blue line. Save. And St. Mary's Point clears it around the glass, and this will be an icing on St. Mary's Point. 2:05 left to go in the second period. 7-1. All right, Sonic wins the face-off. Back to Cash. Junker shot. Glove save. And held on to by St. Mary's Point. St. Mary's Point controls off the face-off. They're able to clear the zone. And they tried to dump it in. Koffenberg was knocked down there at the blue line. St. Mary's Point along the right side boards. We got a pile up, battling for the puck. Looks like Louis Junker there. Louis Junker is able to intercept the puck, and he sends it into the zone, but he gets knocked off the puck. Weston Linnell forechecking. Sonic now with a poke check. Knocks it off his stick. Linnell pass over to Louis Junker, just off his stick. Cash. Junker pinches. He brings it in and tried to take a shot. Had it knocked off his stick. Puck comes out of the zone. Koffenberg with the puck now. He circles back and will dump it deep into the St. Mary's Point zone. Parker Taylor on the forecheck. Braden Smith helping out. Parker chipped it behind the net for Braden Smith. Braden Smith tried a centering pass, but that was taken off his stick by the St. Mary's Point player, and they skated out of the zone. 45 seconds left to go in the period. Ty Sirianni with the puck now along the far boards. He skates it through the neutral zone and dumps it in behind the St. Mary's zone. He's forechecking. He's got the puck. Centering pass through the slot. Nobody there. Dylan Johnson over to Foxland. Foxland dumps it in. And St. Mary's Point is able to clear. Dylan Johnson back to retrieve the puck. 13 seconds left to go in the period. Dylan Johnson skates it up. He skates it into the zone around a defenseman. Centering pass. Tipped for Sirianni. Dylan Johnson with a shot from the side of the net. Almost went in. But that is the end of the second period. Stillwater leads 7-1. See if I can text him. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
No, let's just. Let's see how game goes, okay?
Just text them. Or we could just have ended early. I don't know. That's not.
Okay, go say hi. We're not going to stay too much longer, right?
So if you would use my phone, that.
All right. So we got Dylan Johnson with the puck now off the face-off. He skates it into the St. Mary's Point zone. Boxland shot from the point. Save. And covered. All right, Bonin forechecking in the far corner. Centering pass goes through the crease. Dylan Johnson pinching along the far boards. Doc's helping out. He gets tripped up. Bonin still battling for the puck. St. Mary's Point shot wide of the net. Back to the point. And St. Mary's Point sends it behind the net again. Doc's battling for the puck. Kep helping out in the skates of Kep. Kep is able to skate it out of the zone, pass over to Bonin. Bonin skates it in. And we have a delayed penalty on St. Mary's Point. We've got a roughing penalty on a St. Mary's Point player. Sorry, I did not see that call. So Sonic with the puck. He works his way towards the net. Shot. Glove save. So we have running time now because there's a 6-goal differential. O'Shea shot from the point, save, and held on to by St. Mary's Point goalie. Shot by Louis Junker on the side of the net. And we've got a whistle. Not sure what that whistle was for. Maybe the puck went out of play temporarily. All right, face off. Sonic with the puck. He's on the forecheck. Puck sent around to the right side boards. Weston Linnell with it. His shot wide of the net. On the side of the net. Louis Junker battling for it. O'Shea pinches. Weston Linnell trying to hold it in. Sonic with the puck. Shot from the blue line. That gets deflected into the far corner. Louis Junker centering pass intercepted by St. Mary's Point. Puck is still loose. It comes out of the zone. Keegan Smith over to O'Shea. O'Shea dumps it in. And we'll have a line change for Stillwater. Power play has expired. St. Mary's Point is able to skate it up. Poke check by Taylor. Knocked it off the stick of the St. Mary's Point player. Shot. Saved by Rye. And he will cover that one. Braden Smith wins the faceoff. Taylor is able to clear the zone. St. Mary's Point sends it back in. No offsides. Shot was on goal. Saved and covered by Rye. Braden Smith wins the faceoff back. Cash Junker to retrieve it behind the net. He will skate it out of the zone into the offensive zone. Centering pass intended for Braden Smith went all the way through the crease, and St. Mary's is able to clear. We've got Ty Sirianni back to retrieve the puck. Ty passes it up to Cash Junker. He turns, skates it up. We have offsides on Stillwater. 9:35 left to go in the third period. Stillwater leads 7-1. Face-off won by Stillwater, back to Cash Junker, and we'll have another offsides. Koffenberg up to Bonin. Bonin gets taken down. Centering pass, Docks. Docks with a goal. So I believe that was a centering pass from Cash, maybe? I think Cash was deep in the corner there, but the puck was loose on the left side of the net, and Brendan Knox was able to knock that one in. Bonin with the puck on the right side boards. Pass over to Docks. Docks shot from the side of the net. That goes through the crease. Foxland pinching. Foxland, his shot deflected behind the net. Bonin, his centering pass, nobody there. Docks with another shot. Puck deflected into the left corner. Back to Dylan Johnson at the point. Dylan Johnson shot goes behind the net. Foxland pinches. Bonin with the puck behind the net. He tries to send it back to Dylan Johnson, but intercepted by the St. Mary Point player. Kep now intercepts the puck. He turns it, takes it back into the zone. Shot from the side of the net. And St. Mary Point is able to clear the zone. They're skated up. We've got Dylan Johnson with the puck now. He turns, clears the zone. His pass was tipped by a St. Mary Point player. Back to Foxland at D. He chips it up for Sonic just off his stick. Puck comes back to Dylan Johnson. He makes a move in the neutral zone and skates it up. Puck knocked off his stick, recovered by Sonic momentarily. Dylan Johnson able to hold it in. Louis Junker sends it behind the net for Linnell. Linnell centering pass. Louis Junker with a shot, hit the side of the net. O'Shea is able to hold it in. Linnell shot, save. Linnell gets taken down. St. Mary's Point sends it around the boards and clears the zone. This will not be an icing. It's waved off. O'Shea clears the zone. We've got Louis Junker battling for the puck. He gets tripped up, but he sends it into the zone momentarily. St. Mary's Point clears right away. O'Shea tried to clear the zone, intercepted, shot, saved by Rye, and he'll hang on to that one. Braden Smith. Oh, we've got a penalty on St. Mary's Point. I believe this will be a slashing penalty. So Parker Taylor drew the penalty. He was trying to skate the puck into the zone, and his stick was knocked out of his hands. Braden Smith off the faceoff gets taken down. Puck's in the far corner. Cash was able to hold it in. Koffenberg with the puck now. He goes around one defenseman. Shot. Save. Puck was loose on the side of the net. St. Mary's Point's able to skate it through the neutral zone. They dump it in. Cash Junker back to retrieve the puck. Cash Junker skates it up into the offensive zone. He takes a shot. Blocker save. Braden Smith knocked it down. Back to Parker Taylor. He turns and sends it back into the corner for Braden Smith. Centering pass over to Sirianni. Sirianni shot goes wide. Parker Taylor trying to bang it in. Parker Taylor went around the net. Parker still with the puck. He takes a shot, deflected in front. St. Mary's Point is able to control and clear the zone. 10 seconds left on the power play. That's icing by St. Mary's Point. We've got about 3:40 left to go in the game. Stillwater wins the face-off, but that clears the zone. Over to Voxland. Voxland chips it up the boards. Kep with the puck. He has a shot from the blue line that goes wide. Bonin with the puck in the near corner. He gets taken down. Kep helping out on the forecheck. Puck goes around the boards to Dylan Johnson. Dylan Johnson, his shot from the point was deflected. St. Mary's Point is able to clear. Voxland with the puck. He chips it over to the boards. Comes back in the neutral zone. We've got Dylan Johnson. Oh, the puck's loose. Race for the puck. St. Mary's Point player. Battling with Voxland for the puck there. Voxland is able to intercept it. He skates it out and dumps it deep. Kep with the puck along the board. Shot. That goes into the near corner. O'Shea passes it over to Keegan Smith. Keegan Smith and O'Shea dumping it deep. Doc's on the forecheck. Bonin with the puck now in the right side corner. He gets taken down. Minute 50 left to go in the period. Penalty on St. Mary's Point. And Bonin is down. Bonin is back up and we'll resume play now. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera back on the... We've got 1 minute left to go in the game. Back to O'Shea and offsides on Stillwater. All right, 45 seconds left to go in the game. Weston Linnell sends it deep into the St. Mary's zone. 30 seconds left to go in the game. Comes back to O'Shea. O'Shea shot from the point. Save. Comes. We've got 15 seconds left to go. Keegan Smith. Sonic with the puck now. 10 seconds left to go. He passes it up to Linnell. Linnell, shot, save. 2 seconds left. 1, and that's the game. So, sorry folks, I've got to end the call, end the video, but Stillwater wins 8-1 against